the software supply chain failures. This is one of my favorite, and this is one of the big issue when it comes to agents, when it comes to MCPs, when it comes to AI, when it comes to apps, when it comes to mobile and whatnot. So we did a survey, and we figured out that 80 to 90% of the code which is there on the internet is all open source. Now, when there's so much of open source code, we tend to be part of the whole supply chain as well. And if there's one component which is vulnerable, our whole ecosystem might be vulnerable. So there was a title, or there was a vulnerability or a risk which was part of the OWASP 2021 top 10 list, which was vulnerable and outdated components, that has been renamed to software supply chain failures. And I feel this is a very, very relevant title which is there. And this category, I feel, is one of the most silent but the deadly ones. This is something which is very critical, and using software which is outdated, unsupported, unpatched, I think this becomes a big disaster. And while we talk about all these modern apps that we are talking about, they aren't built from scratch. They're made from frameworks, they're made from libraries, they're made from APIs and third party modules. Think of it as building the Lego blocks. So if one block is cracked, your whole structure is weak. So we need to have each and every block which is part of it. And you inherit the security flaws which are there. So it's very, very important that we deal with all of them. We understand that attackers don't need to find a new bug. They just exploit the known CVEs which are in your stack. And Micah just mentioned about the CVEs, that what are those CVEs? And I love the conversation which is happening in the chat, because I think there's so much that is there in this space. Some of the things I might not know about, which you might be knowing. So please feel free to share that as well. And what I've seen, that many organizations don't even know what versions they're running on, especially with nested dependencies. That what do you deal with it? How do you deal with it? And I remember about Log4j in 2021, everyone was on toes. Are we vulnerable? Whether are we impacted or not? And then still we are discussing about all of them. And then there were recent attacks. We're still figuring it out. Are we vulnerable to it? Is it impacting us or not? So there are so many confusions, discussion, and then whatnot, which is there. And this Log4Shell was like a big pain for everyone. Now let's understand what it was. So I'm going to play this video and let you watch.
Here is a quick demonstration of the Log4j vulnerability. On the top left is a web application running Log4j. On the top right is a malicious LDAP server. If we run an ls command on the application server, we can see there are 3 files in /temp. We can now trigger the exploit using this command. And now you can see the LDAP server has responded and the web application has run our payload. If we now run the same ls command on the application server, you can see we have created a file on the server showing remote command execution.
Now, this seems very simple, but trust me, these kind of issues give sleepless night to organizations and developers and security people, everyone. So we need to make sure that if there is a dependency which is unused, we don't need it, let's remove it. If there's a feature, there's a code in the whole system, if this is redundant, let's remove it if we don't need it. Why do we need to keep that as part of it? And a lot of times we download third party dependencies, frameworks and whatnot, and then forget about it, or we don't even document it. So let's create a documentation, and make it as part of the software bill of materials, or use the software composition analysis scanners. And I'm not saying because I work for C, but I think you should definitely check out the scanners which are there, and it's amazing. You should definitely know the dependencies which are there, and if there are any outdated dependencies, if there's a new version, or if there is a dependency which is out of life, and we see that there are issues in it, what are the dependencies which can complement it, because we want to make sure that our system keeps on running.